justification for this. They will come up with stories, but when you look at the politics, it's very clear in our day and age and where we live, the politics is not convincing because actually the opposite should happen. We claim to be fans of democracy. That means equal rights for people, participation of people in the decision-making process, not one-way diktats from above by central planners. Now, the politics is clear, there's no justification for this, but they're selling it us on the economics. What about the economics? Well, the economics is also very clear. There's no justification for centralization, even in the economics. What is the economics? Well, in order to have both democracy and economic success and prosperity, we need decentralization. The principle of decentralization is also known as the principle of subsidiarity, officially subscribed to, where we are, by Brussels, but of course in reality ignored almost all the time, is about delegating power and decision-making, the actual decision-making, to the lowest possible level, wherever possible. And it's been shown any organization involving humans will be more successful if you follow that principle because it works. People on the ground, at the front line, whatever it may be, they can react quickly, they can make decisions. But so the decision will be better, it'll be more effective, but also people will be motivated. That's why the Soviet Union didn't really work so well, because you had these crazy instructions which made no sense, but you still had to do it anyway. So this principle is well established. I wrote a paper on this. Subsidiarity as secret of success. It's an HR journal, and for EU relations, it's open access. So have a look at it. So we have no political justification and no economic justification, and yet the central planners demand more power and more concentration of power into their hands. And it's pretty bad, I tell you. It's been going on for years. They want to control all transactions. Let's start with transactions. Since the 2014 e-invoicing directive and the regulation 910, Commission has made law that there will have to be electronic identification in order to allow for the creation of EU digital identity wallets. And some countries have already implemented this. Hungary, of all countries, actually has moved ahead of others in implementing this. And that means that there's no more economic transaction freedom, because as a company, you're not allowed to issue an invoice if it's not through the system with specific software, which is part of the centralized control. And of course, that is the first step to then also intervene and, perhaps stop transactions, whatever you want. Once you have the infrastructure, you can use this power. But it's not just Europe. We see the same trends, just like in 2020, when suddenly everyone had the same very strange list of prescriptions that needed to be implemented. Japan already has a qualified issuer invoice registration system, and so on. So what is this? This is actually the fallback plan B route to impose digital ID and total digital control of all our transactions in case things don't work out so well with plan A. So we have to be aware that plan A is central bank digital currency that are programmable. The power to create and allocate new money, which would give this to the central bank and therefore also transfer fiscal powers, the only sort of remaining power in the hands of parliaments, which is one of the definitions of democracy, for parliaments to decide over budgets. Obviously, we're not in a parliament here because that's not a democratic parliament when you don't have those powers. But they want to take them away from those parliaments in Europe that have those powers. The central planners want to take that job. But it's transactions, and here, of course, what is the programmability? Well, there's the infrastructure being created. It could be anything. It could be climate change, carbon footprint. That could be the principle, but it can be other principles. Do you support the war? Are you on the right side with your opinion on whatever currently is, country we're making war on? It could be anything. It could be you're stepping outside a 15-minute city, and so your money perhaps shouldn't work. But it's not just transactions. it's also assets. And this gets pretty scary here, I think. The Bank for International Settlement